Hello, hello, it's Daniel Mercurio, and I'm here to set the record straight when it comes to astrology and how to actually check your horoscope and not wreck your horoscope. Now here's the thing, there's a reason why newspaper and written horoscopes get a bad rap, because they're actually only about 35% accurate on average, which really isn't a lot, especially when there is a way to read your horoscope where it can be 80% accurate. That's a huge difference between the two. And so if we're going to be embracing astrology, if we're going to be using it as a tool for our own self-awareness and as a way to move forward and use the patterns and the messages as a sign to help us, we've got to get the facts straight, okay? So take a beat, take a minute, take out your notebook, and hear what I have to say about astrology and your horoscope. So let's go back in time, shall we, where this all came to be. Well, this all came to be from the nature of trying to look at the celestial patterns that our solar system makes. So we have the sun and the moon and the other planets that make up what we know here on Earth as our solar system. And the planets that we see are the planets that we are able to recognize within our current reality. The sun and the moon we get to see every day and every night, and other planets we can see depending on how close they are to our Earth. We know that they're real. We know that they make sense to us, and we know that they have meaning for some reason. But the thing that's kind of missing, the disconnect, is that we don't actually know what the meaning is. We're not really given the right tools and resources to figure out how to use astrology in our life and in our favor. So we have our solar system, and then we have what's known as the zodiac wheel. Now the zodiac wheel is this 360-degree circle that is made up of the 12 signs. Kicks off with the first sign, Aries, then it moves into Taurus and Gemini and so forth until we get all the way to the end and we get Pisces. So these 12 signs make up the zodiac wheel, and each sign represents a part of who we are in this human experience. It is our avatar, or an archetype, if you will. And so now we want to imagine that the zodiac wheel is like a game board, and it's being placed underneath our solar system. And every day, the sun, the moon, and the planets move at different paces around the zodiac wheel. And so what we do is when we look at what today is going to bring, we take a screenshot of the solar system on top of the zodiac wheel. And we take that screenshot and we're able to see what the energy of the day is. We're able to see what sign the sun is in. We're able to see where the moon is. We're able to see where the planets are and what aspects they're making to each other, what their angles and their different lines represent to each other. And we use that just like we would use checking our weather app every day, right? You check your weather app in the morning to see if it's going to be sunny. Why do you do that? Is it bogus? Is it woo-woo to find out if it's going to be sunny? Is it weird or out there if it's going to rain today? No. Same for horoscopes, okay? Same thing. But what we want to realize is that the horoscopes are not written exactly based on our sun sign. Now, it is written off of what is called our rising sign. So let's backtrack for a moment, shall we? Our sun sign is where the sun was when you were born. So for example, if you were born in early July, the sun is in the sign of Cancer. It takes the sun 1 year to move around the zodiac game board. Okay, so within the span of a year, the sun will tour all 12 signs and spends around 30 days in each sign until it gets to 360 degrees and it completes the wheel. So in our society, when we talk about horoscopes, when we're talking about what our sign is, when someone says, "What's your sign?" they're asking, what is your sun sign? Where was the sun when you were born? And the sun sign governs who you are during the day, how you are in the light, so to speak. It also determines our masculine and determines who we are as a creator and a generator. These are all great things to recognize, but we want to recognize when we're saying what's our sign, we're saying who are you in the daytime? Who are you at work? Who are you in your masculine? Okay? Does that change wanting to ask someone their sign a little bit? Because if we look to the flip side, if we look to the moon is our feminine. It is our emotions. It's who we are behind closed doors. It's who we are at night. A little bit different, don't you think? So that's why it's important to take a moment to take a look at your birth chart. Take a look at the day that you were born. See where the sun was on the zodiac wheel. See where the moon was. And then you can determine where your masculine and your feminine are. And our sun and our moon sign are really meant to help us with our personality and figuring out who we are. And when the sun does happen to come back, it's called a solar return, come back to the month that it was in when you were born, you can check your horoscope that month and you'll get an essence of what your theme is going to be. Some things that you can focus on as you start your fresh year ahead. That's when the horoscopes are the most helpful to you, when you're basing them on your sun sign. Same for the moon. If there's a new moon or a full moon in your moon sign, it's going to have the most meaning because when you were born, the moon was in that sign. So when the moon comes back into that sign, it's going to have more power and more influence in your life. Now, let's say you just want to check your horoscopes on a daily basis. You don't want to wait until you're back in your sun season. You don't want to wait until there's a new moon or a full moon in your moon sign. What's a girl or guy or anyone for that matter to do? Well, we want to check our rising sign. Here's why. The rising sign is where the sun was along the horizon when you were born. And it changes every 2 hours because within the span of a day, the sun moves through all 24 or all 12 signs as it relates to the horizon. Okay, so it does take the sun a year to move through all 12 signs of the zodiac wheel, but within a given day, we want to imagine that every 2 hours, the horizon shifts over the zodiac wheel. And that's why it's important to know what time you were born because it changes so frequently. If you just say, oh, I think I was born around lunch, maybe, but what if the horizon was changing and you know, within that span, it might get a little bit wonky. So you want to call your mom, call the hospital, do what you got to do, get that birth chart or birth certificate so that you can figure out the time of your birth. Once you have the time of the birth, you've got your rising sign. And we can use our rising sign for our horoscopes. Here's a secret that a lot of astrologers, for some reason, don't want you to know or aren't talking about. We're starting to more, but essentially when we write the horoscopes, we are writing them based off of what is called the houses. Now the houses are 12 different themes that we deal with on our human journey. Themes like sense of self, money and worth, relationships, house, family, career, travel, friends, spirituality, all really fun, juicy things. And so essentially, house number 1 is the first house that is also connected to our ascendant, the rising sign. So house 1 is where the sun is along the horizon. Then house 2 becomes the sign that would follow that. So if house number 1, in my case, is Leo, house number 2 on my chart is Virgo. It's no wonder that I have weird issues around Virgos and money. Anyway, then we move to the next sign, would be Libra. That's my 3rd house. Cool. Now, when people are writing horoscopes, this is what they're doing. Let's say it's beginning of July. We are in Cancer sun season. Cancer then becomes house number 1. House number 1 means sense of self, how you're visible to the world. Guess what that horoscope's going to be all about for anyone that's a Cancer rising? Sense of self, how you are to the world. Then that would mean house number 2 would be the next sign that follows. That's Leo. Guess what Leo's horoscope's going to be about for July? It's going to be about money and worth and finances. So we want to look at our rising sign to see what our theme is going to be as it relates to our human journey. Now that may be a little bit over your head. Sometimes this can be really layered, but essentially what I'm trying to share with you is that your rising sign is based off of the where the sun was along the horizon, and further, when you check your horoscopes are written based on that lineage, and every month it changes, and therefore every month you're going to get more direction and it's going to be more accurate because it's going to be following the lineage of the kind of human themes that we go through throughout the year. So essentially, just check your rising sign, find out what it is. I think you're going to be really surprised by what it is. Our rising sign from a more general space is the first impression that we give to people when they meet us and the way that we want to make an impression on others. And through starting to check your horoscope based on your rising sign, I think you're going to start to notice different patterns emerging in your life, and you're going to see how things are a little bit more accurate as opposed to your horoscope's kind of being accurate, or you're only kind of noticing once or twice a year they work based on your sun sign. Your sun sign's not enough, okay? So we want to kind of take a look at that and be like, oh, that's cool. Now, if you're the same sun sign and the same rising sign, that works in your favor, but most of us aren't. So there you have it. If that makes sense, drop a note in the comments and let me know your sun, moon, and rising sign. And thank you. You're fabulous. Have a great day. Go check your horoscope the right way.